Hi everybody, this is Patrick from the 8-Track Tape Store, and in this video we're going to talk about crosstalk. What is crosstalk? It's when you play a channel on your 8-track player and you hear the channel that you're trying to play, but in the background, usually faintly, you're also hearing a different channel. So you play channel 4 and a little bit of channel 1 is sort of heard in the background. Crosstalk is usually a problem with your player. So it happens when the tape and the tape head in the player are not exactly lined up the way they're supposed to. So usually the head in your player is out of alignment when you have crosstalk. Not always, but usually. And luckily, in your player, there's an adjustment screw. So there's a head adjustment screw which moves the playhead up and down a little bit, and which is supposed to fix that problem. So if you have crosstalk on a lot of tapes, then that's a problem in your player. If your player is playing, 20 or 30 tapes perfectly, and then you experience crosstalk on one tape, then that's probably a function of the tape. So let's talk about that. The very first 8-track cartridges did not have a channeling mechanism along the post here. We're talking about the very beginning, and they discovered that as cars, drove along on a bumpy ride, that the tape would come up and down, and it would misalign itself on the playhead, and so that created crosstalk. And to fix that problem, they very soon after the introduction of 8-track cartridges in automobiles, they very soon after they added these channeling mechanisms. So you can see on this tape, there's one of these guides that tries to keep the tape in place. This has a different mechanism, looks like that. This one has a little tab here that keeps the tape in place. In this sort of older version, the channeling is built into the tape so that when the top comes down, it creates kind of a narrow channel for the tape to not move. So all of those were attempts to eliminate crosstalk in tapes. So the first thing to look at, if you do have crosstalk in a single tape, is what is your channeling mechanism looking like? So in this particular tape type, this is a Warner tape, is this little post here. This is the one that keeps the tape in place. Sometimes they break off, and if that breaks off, then the tape can move up and down and create a misalignment on the playhead. So you want to look at that. On this sort of channeling mechanism and this one, you want to see if there's any damage. Sometimes these will melt and sometimes they'll crack. And so if you have imperfections in the guiding mechanism, that can cause the tape to move up and down and have an uneven ride. So you don't want that. So check out your channeling mechanism carefully. Know what it's supposed to look like, and then make sure it's intact. Second thing you want to look at is the actual roller. So sometimes these rollers are damaged. You'll find occasionally chunks missing from them. And when that happens, it's going to bring the tape into a certain area, and that may be out of alignment with the playhead. So check your rollers over very carefully. I usually do that when we clean them. Now this is a great example. This is an Ampex roller. These are known to be those gooey rollers. This one's not gooey. It's actually really dried. but it's all rough and uneven, and that's going to give the tape an uneven ride. So even though this is turning nicely, we don't want to leave that hub in, or the roller in. We're going to want to replace that. Another thing to look at if you have crosstalk on a single tape and you know it's not your player is the hub, of course. So these hubs will sometimes get a bumpy ride around the center post. It's especially notorious in this Warner type hub here. These will often get warped, and if a hub is warped, it will cause the tape as it spools around, as it turns around, to go up and down a little bit. And the channeling guide's supposed to fix that, but if it's not there, or if it's a really rough warped spool, it's going to cause the tape to go up and down a little bit, and you'll get crosstalk or fading, where the sound kind of gets loud and soft, loud and soft. You can get that on a tape as well. This is an example of a warp tape. I'm going to hold it up. Let's see. I think you can see the warp in the video. If you can't see it in the video, I'm going to put it here, press this down. You'll see it kind of pops up on the other side, right? This is a flat surface, so you can see that it's warped there. So that's a problem. And if you have a warp spool, you're going to re-spool it. There's no other way to do it. So those are reasons you might have crosstalk in a tape if you're sure it's not your player. Usually it's your player, as I mentioned before. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is Patrick from the 8tracktapestore.com. So a quick addendum to this video. One of our peer reviewers mentioned that crosstalk can also be caused by a bad pad, of course. You know, we just assume that you know by now to replace your pads. So if you have a pad that looks like this, that can cause crosstalk for sure, or fading, or weird noises, or light play where you can hardly hear the sound. And so the solution for that is take the pad out, clean it out really good, and then put the new pad on. And the second thing that can cause crosstalk, I think we mentioned this, is the roller itself. You want to make sure that's spinning freely and that there's no dents in it or damage, chunks missing, or anything like that that would cause the tape to kind of route into a different area of the pinch roller than you want it to be. And I think that's it for this video. This is Patrick from the 8tracktapestore.com.